Hey, welcome to Reviews on the Run. We've landed here on Mars. Well, not really. We're in Nevada. We got some Star Trek action, and we're going back to World War II.
Again.
Today on Reviews on the Run, we're taking a look at Star Trek Legacy, Elebits, Blazing Angels, Squadrons of World War II, and it versus its World Series of Poker Tournament of Champions against World Championship Poker All In. Some of the games we look at on Reviews on the Run are intended for a mature audience. Please pay attention to each game's ESRB rating. All right, the first game we're talking about is for all you Trekkers out there. It's Star Trek...
Trekkies, not Trekkers.
I think they like Trekkers. I'd say. I think Trekkies is a bit derogatory. They like Trekkers. That's what I've heard. It's Star Trek Legacy.
Making stuff up. Go ahead.
From Bethesda for the Xbox 360. It's also out there on the PC. We looked at it on the 360, though. What'd you think of Star Trek Legacy?
Well, one of the things for all the Trekkies out there that they're gonna enjoy is that this game actually takes all 5 of the TV shows and puts them together in a storyline.
Oh, storyline.
And they actually have all 5 of the captains doing the voiceover.
Yes.
So obviously all of the money went into the VO production as opposed to the game design. Because...
Oh, come on. The game's not that fun.
Exactly.
Sorry.
Exactly. He said it.
No, I didn't mean that.
No, he said it.
All right. What I meant to say is the game's not that bad.
I can see where you could screw those two things up.
I can see why you didn't enjoy it that much. This doesn't have the Tommy Tallarico stamp of approval all over it. It feels like it's not the kind of game you would get into.
Well,
but I actually enjoyed it. You can have up to 4 different ships in your team, basically. You can send them off on different objectives on the map, and you can actually warp all over the map and get to places pretty quickly.
So you know what annoyed me the most?
Yeah.
Is that the constant text that came up on the screen, and they'd even put text on top of text on top of text.
Well, that's in the tutorial. That goes away after you've learned all the
but even when things come up, it's like this text comes on screen and it's like over the action.
Presentation-wise, it could have definitely been better. I hate the way that the ships blow up. I mean, it's cool that you have Romulan and Borg and Klingon Federation ships all in there to play with, but when they have such tacky, slap together explosions, and it just looks so cheap.
Push your engines as hard as you have to. I want Terrell to answer for this.
Okay, you go into battles with ships.
Yes. And that's it.
And that's pretty much the experience, and it gets repetitive really quick.
Yes.
And for Star Trek, which has this amazing, all these different universes.
I know, I thought that
give me some more mini games. Let me go down on the planet and let me bang a green chick or a purple broad or maybe, rub a tribble on my pants or something.
Or fight a guy in a big giant gorilla suit or something like that. I know.
Why not make it like most of all the Star Wars games and X-Wing fighter games, where you can actually, give me full-on control of the ship and let me just start blasting stuff away and put me through an asteroid field and let me have to navigate through it.
Well, Star Trek's not fast-paced,
Give me some action-adventure stuff like that, because, just telling a ship to go and kill that guy and, go and use these. I mean, you feel more like a captain, yes, but the fun is taken out of it.
I agree. It almost would have been cool if they actually put you inside the Enterprise and you could walk around and go visit the guys in the engineering and visit people in the weapons systems and stuff like that, and actually, get a sense of being inside the ship. They really could have dipped into some of the first-person action that we've seen in previous Star Trek games. They could have jumped in and had just a little bit more variety. You're right.
Well, and the
story is told from outside the ship's perspective as well, so you're getting all this narration and voiceover, and you don't see the characters.
This is the Starfleet ship Enterprise. Cease your hostilities immediately.
Overall, though, I think it's an average game. I'm giving it a 5.
I liked it a little bit more than that, and I can see that Star Trek fans will probably appreciate all the Star Trek elements that are in there. I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. On the positive side, you get voice acting from all 5 of the Star Trek captains. You get to play with Klingon, Federation, Romulan, and Borg ships. Getting online and playing some multiplayer is fun. And the story mode that ties all the different captains together is pretty cool.
On the negative side, I hated all the text that kept popping up on screen. We were really disappointed that it didn't show some more inside the ship type of perspectives. And overall, the gameplay is just a little too slow for me. I would have loved to have had it be more of an action-style game.
You see, this is how you make a PSP game. It's Ratchet and Clank Size Matters, and this is pretty much identical to the kinds of experiences we've been playing with Ratchet and Clank on PS2, right in the palm of your hand. Beautiful graphics, you get the characters, the voice acting, the same kind of presentation polish that you get in the Ratchet console games in the PSP version. Lots of variety in the gameplay. This is one of those games where it's like death to crates. You're killing lots and lots of crates all over the place. Some of the weapon controls and stuff like that, not quite as fluid without the right analog thumbstick in the mix, but it still works pretty well. The cameras are pretty smart. All in all, I'm very impressed. I'm finding this incredibly addictive and very hard to put down, which is great. It's just great game design. They really, they mix it up and give you something new to enjoy. So it's not just like following one trail and then you're stuck doing the same thing for a long time. This is a classic PSP game. I'm giving Ratchet and Clank Size Matters 9 out of 10. Hey, don't go away. Tom and I are going to be right back with a review of Elebits for the Wii.
In Need for Speed Most Wanted from EA, you'll assume the role of a novice street racer, aspiring to rise through the ranks of a blacklist, while avoiding the cops at all costs. High speeds will trigger a heat meter that corresponds to the level of aggression the authorities will use to stop you. That's where the Speed Breaker feature comes into play. Activating it will trigger a bullet time effect that will slow down the action, allowing you to deftly avoid their traps with ease. Career Mode serves up more than 140 different events, including time trials, enduring police pursuits, boss battles, and more. Exclusive to the PSP is a new mode called Be the Cop that lets you play as an officer of the law and enjoy the thrill of pursuit. Multiplayer features include head-to-head with up to 4 of your buddies via the local ad hoc mode as well as Wi-Fi. Need for Speed Most Wanted is available for the PSP.
Back in 2003, a World War II air combat game came out right around the same time that Crimson Skies hit the scene on the Xbox and took advantage of Xbox Live. This is Secret Weapons over Normandy, and unlike Crimson Skies, it didn't really feature online gameplay. You can play this game on your PlayStation 2, your Xbox, or your PC, and it is a fantastic World War II flyer because there's all kinds of different planes that you get in. There's 26. You actually have combat over the African, Pacific, and European theaters of war, so there's lots of different sort of variety in the scenery. There's lots of incredible production value in this game as well. It's developed by Totally Games, who some of the guys were responsible for the TIE Fighter and X-Wing series, and it was published by LucasArts, so they put all of their muscle and resources into the audio and visual presentation. It looks and sounds beautiful, but the fact that this wasn't playable online really hurt the experience. Definitely a buried treasure. Secret Weapons over Normandy. Hey, welcome back. We're talking now about Elebits from Konami. It's a launch title for the Wii. It's been out for a little while here. We're finally getting to review it. What'd you think of Elebits?
Well, I think Elebits is a great tech demo. I don't know if I'd go as far as calling it a complete gaming experience.
I don't think it's a perfect game, but I think it's more than a tech demo. I think there's actually some real fun in this game. They've added a lot of kind of Katamari Damacy kind of being able to kind of manipulate the world around you elements. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed being able to just make a mess in all the different spaces that I was in.
I enjoyed it too for about a half hour, and then once you get into it, you kind of suddenly realize that, you know what? This is all I'm going to be doing forever when I play this game. What I did like
Katamari Damacy. What you did in that was roll a big ball of junk, and you didn't enjoy that.
I didn't enjoy that one either.
Yeah, and I just caught on to that.
Seeing where this is going.
He hated that one.
Seeing where this is
probably
going.
Not his cup of tea.
No,
either.
Not my cup of tea. No. I'm sure a lot of people out there, like I said, it uses good use. It's
honestly,
innovative.
It's
but
what it is. It's a shooter.
You didn't get sick of it after a while.
No, actually, I was really addicted to it, and I didn't want to stop playing it, even though I had to move on to the next game to review. I thought, hey, this is a lot of fun
I'm
because
sure you'll be playing it next week.
I really like the game. I like just as much as I loved Katamari Damacy. I like Katamari a little bit more, but it's definitely in that league, and I like that it's quirky. I like that it's different. I think it's the best use of one of the best uses of the Wiimote controller as a first-person shooter kind of interface, because you're actually moving with the nunchuck and pointing and shooting, and it actually works very, very well. Basically, it's hide and seek with a laser gun is what probably the best way to describe this. You use the little little gun to move objects around, and you find the little Elebits that give you power and power up all the electrical gadgets all around your environments. And they also, later on in the game, help to power up your gun. And they also throw in other things like not being able to make too much noise or not being able to bust too much stuff.
It's got to be some of the worst voiceover acting
awful. But I like the
year.
I like the art. It's really colorful. It's really well done.
I disagree.
But then you get into the gameplay, and the actual art in the game is pretty simplistic.
Okay, that's all right.
But I like the cutscene art. I like the way that they had these slightly animated image, very colorful imagery.
But for a next-gen game, don't you want that to be the game?
Yeah, I'd love it to be more in that direction for sure, and I would like it to look, exponentially better than Katamari Damacy, and honestly, it doesn't.
There's no real multiplayer except for kind of this, almost a co-op mode where one person controls the camera angle, and the other person is controlling the shooting. It's like they gave up and just said, well, we could do this.
I like this game a lot. What are you going to give Elebits?
I wish there was more of a game there. I'm giving it a 6.
I'm giving it a 7.5. On the positive side, this is a great use of the Nintendo Wii controller. Although it is the same thing over and over again, they do add new challenges along the way that keep you hooked to the experience. The art style in the cutscenes is pretty sweet, and who doesn't like making a huge mess in their video game?
On the negative side, the audio wasn't that great, especially some of the worst voiceovers we've ever heard. The multiplayer is pretty sad. The actual in-game graphics are pretty dated. And for me, I found the gameplay to be very repetitive, not a lot of replay value, but some may disagree.
Hey, stick around. World War II continues after the break. We've got Blazing Angels, Squadrons of World War II. Are we ever going to end that war?
Never.
Ever.
Never.
Never going to end it. Hey, there's two things I love about this. I'm reviewing Ghost Rider, which is actually a pretty fun and cool sort of side-scrolling interpretation of the comic book and movie. And it's a Game Boy Advance game, and there's getting to be a lot fewer Game Boy games, if you know what I'm talking about. So it's cool that I'm playing a GBA game. Ghost Rider actually succeeds quite well. The scrolling action is pretty derivative. We've played this kind of thing before, but the animations are strong. I really like the way they animate Ghost Rider with his fiery head and the way he uses his chains to take care of bad guys and bosses that are a lot larger. They're a little kind of polygonal too, some of the boss characters, so that looks pretty sweet. They also have, it's not the best, but they also have a little riding from behind the bike perspective, so it's a pseudo 3D kind of deal. It's weird that none of the characters look like Nicolas Cage though, it's just some other dude. But Ghost Rider's a cool character, solid Game Boy Advance action that you can play on your DS. I'm giving Ghost Rider an 8 out of 10. Hey, welcome back. We're talking about Blazing Angels, Squadrons of World War II. This time for the PlayStation 3. Tommy and I already reviewed it on the Xbox 360 and was out on the PC as well. And it's been reworked very, very slightly for the PS3, and I think that's our top story here, isn't it? I mean, it's not enough.
You know, the Blazing Angels was a great game on the
very fun.
Great game, but it was a very good game on the 360. But even on the 360, didn't show off the capability of what next gen could bring to the table.
Nope.
Now, when you see it on the PlayStation 3, and again, I've said this a million times, I'm going to keep continuing to say it.
Yeah.
If Sony's going to charge $600 for a machine, they better.
Evolutionary steps got to be there.
They better deliver.
Yeah. There are frame rate problems in this damn game.
Especially when it slows down. Explosions.
Yeah, or there's lots of planes, lots of traffic in the air at the same time. I mean, it gets a little bit choppy, and that's ridiculous,
now,
man.
That being said, it isn't a horrible game. It's still a fun game to play.
It's very fun. I really enjoy it.
I really like the way they've approached the controls from a number of different perspectives.
Yep.
First, the right analog stick controls your acceleration or speed, you know, and then the left stick controls kind of where you're at.
That's right.
But they also give you the option to use the 6-axis control. And this is really the first game, I think, that shows off the 6-axis control. And I gotta say, they did a pretty good job.
Well, the 6-axis is like built for flight games, let's face it. I mean, I think that's gonna be an easy thing for Warhawk and Lair. You know, people are gonna be gravitating towards that for this, and it's nice that they added it to this game. But I love the vistas. I love the way that the cities look, and you know, you fly all over the different sort of air combat battles in World War II. You're in North Africa, you're all over Europe, and everything looks really, really nice.
What I like about this game overall is the variety.
Yeah.
The variety not only in the graphics and the environments, like you said, but also the variety, I thought, of the gameplay itself. You're not just doing bombing runs every time.
And there's also multiplayer, which is a major letdown when you're coming off of what the Xbox 360 version.
And I think the biggest reason for that is because they don't have voice support.
What the hell were they thinking?
Online.
That's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Are you kidding me?
You can't chatter with the other people that are playing with you. That's ridiculous.
I mean, this is supposed to be next gen. Is this what I spent $600 for?
No. Now, they did change up some of the audio, some of the voiceover. I remember
There's a lot of voiceover.
There is a lot of voiceover in the game.
Lots of talking.
But they've added like a new bunch of cast members. I didn't really notice too much, but you know, and I was reading the notes on all this stuff, and they did add a voice for the pilot, which is new to the gameplay experience. So the character that you're playing actually has dialogue going through, where on the 360 he was silent. What are you going to give Blazing Angel Squadrons of World War II for the PlayStation 3?
I had fun with it. I'm going to give it a 7.
I'm going to give it a 7 as well.
On the positive side, there's a lot of variety in the environments and the gameplay. I like the unique way that it controls, and overall, it's just a simple game to get into and have some fun with.
On the negative side, they added more voiceover to a game that already had too much to begin with. The graphics aren't really improved at all, and there's even choppy frame rate issues. But our biggest complaint is the fact that there's no voice communications in online play. That is just unacceptable. All right, today in Hardware, we're talking about Sony's BD remote control for Blu-ray disc, BD. It's a Blu-ray player, obviously, in the Sony PlayStation 3, and you can use your 6-axis controller to, program your DVD and Blu-ray playback any way that you want. But some people get a little bit tired of having to access all those buttons and trying to figure out and basically decipher the controls on the PS3 controller to just press play and watch their movies. So Sony has a remote control for you that kind of simplifies everything. But one thing I was really disappointed not to see in this, and I'll talk about this right away, is the lack of a backlight at all. And that just drives me crazy in modern remote controls, because a lot of us have home theaters that are in the dark when we're watching films. It's just hard to find the remote controls if they don't have any kind of backlight or any kind of glow-in-the-dark kind of capability.
The thing is that it is an inexpensive price. You know,
it's
I think
$25.
25 bucks, and we've seen a lot of these in the range of 40, 60, sometimes 80 and up for the universal remotes.
Yes.
And so,
which this one isn't, by the way. It will only work with the PlayStation 3. Now, Sony's, I don't know if this is calculated or what, but they didn't put any kind of infrared port on the PlayStation 3, so you can't use any other kind of remote control out there. You can't pick up like a universal one and learn the PS3. Are you going to recommend the PlayStation 3 BD remote control?
If you're in the market for this, well, you only have one choice. So I got to say yes.
I'm recommending it as well. Hey, don't go away. It's a poker death match. Poker to the death. After the break, we're coming right back with Versus. Welcome to the hit list. Here are 5 of our favorite series that went from console to PSP. Number 5 is Tekken Dark Resurrection. Number 4, Wipeout Pure. Number 3, Siphon Filter Dark Mirror. Number 2, Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories. And number 1, Ridge Racer. Hey, welcome back. We've got 2 poker games going head-to-head today in Versus. It seems like the publishers just keep cramming these poker games down our throat. How many do we need?
Poker's a big thing these days.
Every year, it's not like there's a new roster out there. It's the same dudes.
If you ask me how many we need, the answer is none of them, because on Xbox Live Arcade,
Texas Hold'em.
There's a great one, Texas Hold'em.
All right, well,
you don't need anything else.
This isn't Texas Hold'em. It is World Series of Poker Tournament of Champions, and we looked at that on the Wii, but it's also out there for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 2 and a couple other systems as well. We looked at that one against World Championship Poker All In, featuring Howard Lederer.
Now, we don't know who any of these people are. Now, you couldn't get 2 more confusing names, so let's refer to the one for the Xbox 360 that we looked on as All In.
All In, yep.
And then on the Nintendo, we looked at
World Series. All right, how do the graphics compare?
They both suck.
I know, they're both supposed to be next gen. The Wii graphics don't look any better than what a GameCube or PlayStation 2 graphics would look like, and that's, you kind of take that into consideration. You kind of know what to expect there. No. The only thing I liked about the Xbox 360 graphics were the loading screens, because they went with this kind of comic book,
what was that all
crazy,
that
sort of
weird.
artistic kind of slant. And then you get to the in-game graphics, and it's all just really blocky, crappy character creations. It's awful.
You remember we had this same issue when we reviewed those bowling games, and it's like, it's a bowling game, for crying out loud. How can you screw up the graphics?
Well, it's not a
big 3D world. It's a poker table.
Nobody takes advantage of it. Nobody says, let me challenge myself as an artist and make some really good-looking characters and great environments.
These should be photorealistic.
I know, they should. Both games suck in the graphics department. You gonna pick a winner?
I'll give a little to All In, but it's by no means great.
I'm a tie.
Okay.
All right, in the audio department?
Audio department, both.
Yes.
So awful. Annoying, because
the music soundtrack, you could basically substitute either one and you wouldn't remember either one, and they're both just really unmemorable
worst
stuff.
Cheesy Vegas lounge music.
Yeah, a little bit of
heard.
slide guitar in there as well.
It's like being on a cruise ship.
In the World Series of Poker, because it's based on the TV series that's out there, they added the announcers in there, but they repeat the same phrases over and over again. And all the stupid quips that the different characters that are created for both games are awful and annoying.
Am I dead? This is poker heaven.
Strange. I thought this was poker hell.
Neither game excels at all. In my mind, that makes me think one of them is better than the other. So again, I'm giving in the audio department a tie.
And they're both a tie.
Absolutely. Okay. In the gameplay department, we're talking about poker, but All In does give you some other options.
Tons of Omaha.
And you get 5-card stud and 7-card stud.
Lots of different ways. I think there's like about, I don't know, 15 or so different
which is
games.
Pretty good. I think right away that puts it up a notch a little bit. Whereas All In also provides you some online play as well, where right away you don't get anything online with the Wii game, so you're playing it by yourself, which defeats the whole purpose of playing poker, because the AI in both games is pretty bad. You're going to start raising and calling bets and stuff like that and starting to win money. You're going to be able to read the AI in both games very quickly. The World Series of Poker is the first poker game available on the Wii, and they don't take advantage of the motion sensing capabilities or anything like that. There's nothing distinctive that makes it seem like an exclusive to the Wii at all. It's a direct port of previous iterations of the game, but there is nothing distinctive or special about either one of these games, but at least All In gives you online play and a bunch of different modes.
And that's the one I go with.
Yeah, I think gameplay-wise, just because of that, All In wins, but not impressed either way. Which one did you like better overall?
For 360, All In.
We're going to go for All In, but we're not all in for All In, if you know what I'm saying.
That's
all right. So what are you going to give World Series of Poker Tournament of Champions?
Which one's that?
That one's for the Wii.
That one I'm going to give a 4.
A 4? I'm giving it a 4 as well. And what about World Championship Poker All In featuring Howard Lederer?
Which one's that for?
That one's for the Xbox 360.
That one I'm going to give a 5.
I'm going to give that one a 4.5.
Do yourself a favor. Just go get Texas Hold'em on Xbox Live Arcade.
You don't need either one of these poker games. Get yourself a $5 deck of cards and bring some friends over.
There you go.
That's what we're saying.
That's what I'm talking about.
Today on the show, we took a look at Star Trek Legacy. You do get all 5 of the Star Trek captains, but the slow pace of the gameplay and lack of any interior scenes for the storytelling hurt the experience. Elebits. Great use of the Wii controller, but the multiplayer and the voice acting are punishing. Blazing Angels, Squadrons of World War II. The look of the game is pretty slick and the controls are solid, but there is some choppiness and a lack of voice communication in online play. Weird. In Versus, it was World Series of Poker Tournament of Champions. You'll get to play poker on the Wii, but this is a single-player game with disappointing visuals, and the announcers repeat phrases over and over again. Against World Championship Poker All In, you do get a ton of different ways to play cards as well as online play, but you also get terrible character visuals, and the AI opponents are lame. We weren't impressed by either poker game, but the winner is World Championship Poker All In. Our Rogers Game of the Week is Ratchet and Clank Size Matters for the PSP.
No, that was all very funny. You should leave it as is.
Is that going to air?
That should probably go to air.